So, someone gave me this really interesting idea. It was in my live stream, and someone was like, you should you should rewatch the debate between Sam Seder and David Doel, in which David Doel called into the Majority Report to basically try to get a truce between Sam Seder and Jimmy Dore, because it's a big rift in the online progressive left, and there seems to be a pretty harsh divide that exists that still goes on and rages on today. Both fan bases hate, the person. So Sam Seder's strong fan base hates Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore's strong fan base hates Sam Seder. So, this video comes from October 25th, 2017. Okay, that's when this was uploaded. That's almost 2 years from now, almost like 4 months off from that. We're currently in July 28th of 2019, so it's been almost 2 years, like 4 months off of 2 years, basically. And I'll tell you what my perspective of watching this video was back then when I had originally watched it, and I had even asked David about it when I had first originally interviewed him. I've interviewed him twice. The first time I should ask him about it. I sort of came away from this thinking that, oh no, I really had a thought that Sam did a poor job of really carrying himself, because he kept interrupting David and really didn't let him speak, like, at all. Literally zero, pretty much. And I was like, oh no, David's pretty much right on this, and there needs to be a truce, yada yada. All that kind of stuff. That was my perspective at that point of watching this. My perspective has now flipped. Now, as you guys know, I'm obviously a fan of both David Doel and Sam Seder. And I don't think David himself would agree with the proposition he came into with. I strongly don't believe that David Doel thinks that there's anything redeemable about Jimmy Dore, that, oh, it's okay, his content is whatever, like, stop going after him and just make a truce. I don't think he agrees with that. I really don't. You guys saw the video that I did of him where he got into a really big debate with Jimmy Dore, and moreover and more, it seemed to be Ron Placone for some reason. He got really fired up. And the divide that they had along the lines of voting for Biden and not voting for Biden is pretty much the same divide that existed between Sam and Jimmy. That was the original rift. So I don't even think David, and I would love to hear David's response. So David, if you see this, we'd love to know what your thoughts are on Jimmy Dore now, or your thoughts and reflection on this conversation now, because I'm very curious. But I thought we'd look at parts of this, because the whole video is 17 minutes, so we're just going to look at parts of it and just kind of just react to it and give you my thoughts on it. Let's go ahead and check this out.
Yeah, and I understand all of that, and I understand, I totally agree that it would be awesome if you were on his show and discussed that stuff. But we're talking about, so Jimmy Dore's audience is honestly a fraction of what somebody like Joyanne Reid has. And I know you think you don't have much crossover with MSNBC, but I mean, you're on MSNBC. There definitely is crossover, and I think you have the ability to speak to those the centrist Democrats, whereas Jimmy Dore has the ability to speak to people who may not know all that much about politics, but they're angry.
Now they know less.
In with that anger.
Now they know less.
Sorry?
Now they know less.
No, but I think you're cherry picking specific topics and videos.
Well, no, cherry picking would be me saying cherry picking would be me saying that
you guys
cherry picking would be me saying, hey, you can't tell if somebody has Parkinson's from 60 feet away in a clip of video. That would be me cherry picking.
No,
but cherry picking would be me saying, hey, maybe the fucking guy on Fox who thinks that there's pink lesbian, marauders doesn't know what he's talking about, Seth Rich. That would be me cherry picking.
But when it comes to policy, you guys align on policy. And I think if you were able to, both of you, come together and be able to...
Hey, man. Hey.
Okay, so before we get into that portion, so David says that he's kind of cherry-picking stuff, and this is what I mean by I believe that David wouldn't agree with what he said here. I strongly, strongly believe he has a different opinion now. Obviously, I don't know for 100%, but I'm pretty sure he does based off of his little debate that he had on the Jimmy Dore show. I'm pretty sure he has a different opinion than that, because There's it's not cherry picking stuff. Jimmy Dore is dumb, self-advertised. He literally calls himself, a late night dumb comedian or whatever, dumb guy. That's what he literally brands himself as that. That's what he calls himself. He's not like in his brain, there's just not much thought going on. It's mostly just emotionally driven stuff. So he doesn't really think stuff out. He kind of has one line of thought and he just applies it to everything. He's also very narcissistic and very egotistic and very childish. All of those different things as exemplified by, him whining on his live show. Why isn't Tulsi coming on our show and she's going to TYT when she's here in LA? Because she's always got to go on his show, obviously. But the point here being is that when you look at all the different things that he's done when it comes to, his conspiracy theories that, as Sam brought up, the Parkinson's thing is a very odd one where he's trying to give like a doctoral diagnosis, which of course is totally, unqualified to do. And he does, the Seth Rich stuff, and there's just so many other ones, and I've documented those very well in videos that I've done. You can go ahead and go check those out if you want to. But not just that, but he's had his takes when you go back to the debate between Sam Seder and Jimmy Dore all proved to be wrong. In fact, in a portion that I didn't get to see in this video to show you guys, Sam actually said that public sector unions will be decimated because of the Supreme Court, and he ended up being right. It was almost, he got it perfectly right. That's literally what they did, because they basically said that if you work in the public sector, you don't have to be forced to pay union dues, which effectively disarms a lot of unions, especially right-wing ones, interestingly enough. So don't think the police union's going to last much. But the point here being is that when you look at the things that Jimmy Dore said about the Supreme Court, saying that the Democrats they could somehow block for 4 years 3 Supreme Court justices, multiple vacancies, because obviously there was one already, then you had another opening, and now you have RGB in potential danger because she's very, very sick. So there's potential for 3 changes in the Supreme Court. And he said that they could block all of them. He also said that Paul Ryan won't usher in Trump's agenda. That was obviously wrong. And he was just wrong about so many things, it's honestly hard to believe. And they were really boneheaded takes. So it's not cherry picking. It's just kind of a basic understanding of, okay, Jimmy Dore's just a moron.
He's the one who lied to me about. He's the one who lied to me.
For different reasons.
Call into his show. He's the one who lied to me about inviting him on. Call into his show. Oh wait, you can't. Oh, why don't you tweet at him and see how long it takes for him to block you?
Yeah, but you guys just have different shows. I mean, he doesn't have a.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Not many YouTubers have call-in shows.
I wonder why he does have a live show actually. But I wonder why he doesn't want to have anyone question what he says. I mean, for a guy who says this stuff as if it's the God's truth, he sure doesn't want to have an argument with anybody. In fact, I think he even kicked one of his sidekicks off when they were like, "Hey, man, this doesn't make any sense."
So when he's saying that, he thinks his word's the gospel, it's 100% true. Jimmy Dore loves nothing but just basically, beating himself off, basically, metaphorically, of course. That's what Jimmy Dore loves doing, and he's extremely narcissistic, extremely egotistic, a man-child. That is what he is. It's 100% on point. Literally 1,000% on point to the T, folks, to the T. And then when he says, he's talking about how Jimmy's like running away from a debate with Sam, which is really cowardly. And it's really cringe, too, because for a while, there was this basically idea that was stuck in people's heads that was like, oh, Jimmy Dore's taking the high route and he's the really respectable one in this situation because he's not stooping to Sam's level. And Sam's just a clout chaser because Sam's got like 150 and Jimmy's got like 250 or 225 or whatever, case 1,000 subscribers. And it was hilariously cringe because it's like, no, that's not what it is. He's obviously wrong. If you go back and watch the debate video, and I did a breakdown like months ago, he was wrong on everything he said. Every single thing the man said was wrong. Literally everything. I don't think there was a single thing that he said that was right actually happened. Literally. Even I think he said that like the Democrats were going to take the Senate. I think he had said that. That turned out to be wrong. You just could not possibly be more incorrect about stuff. That is truly remarkable to me. So when he says that, that's obviously true. Also, when he says that one of his sidekicks was thrown off, I don't know the validity of that statement or whether or not that's true. What I have seen is, if you go back and watch that Parkinson's video, it's titled something to the effect of like, is the media failing to report Hillary's Parkinson's? You can watch that in the first couple minutes. One of the woman who's a guest host, I don't remember her name, she said, she asked if he was a doctor, as a joke because he's literally giving a doctoral diagnosis, which was insane. And then one of his other co-hosts, I don't know his name either, had asked him, like, are you Alex Jones? Have you been watching Alex Jones? Because you seem to be ripping him off right now. So I don't know if we ever saw those people again. You guys can let me know in the comment section. Do your research, whatever. Fill me in. But I'm not sure the validity of that statement. But I don't think I ever saw those people again.
I don't know. I'm not here to speculate that.
I'm not speculating anything.
I'm just seeing it from a top level view, where both of you align for the most part on policy, and you just have different ways of going about it. And
yes,
sure,
I actually tell
Jimmy
people
has said things that aren't
facts.
real or aren't real. But...
I tell people facts,
Sorry?
and I tell people stuff that is researched. He doesn't. He wants to make some money on YouTube.
Wrong too, sometimes you put up with a right winger yesterday.
What's
so,
that?
like, we all get things wrong.
What?
I thought you were a right winger.
Right winger.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I thought the connotations of rational national are right wing, at least in the American context. But I corrected that immediately.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that.
But I'm just saying, people get things.
And I didn't hang up on you and say, "Oh, rational national, I can't have you on my show because I don't feel well. I can't have you on my show. So click so that nobody knows that you're not a right winger." You don't think that's a material difference? You don't think that makes a difference? You don't think it's important?
Absolutely, but
you don't think, let me ask you this, honestly, do you honestly think that it doesn't make a difference if Jimmy and I both agree that there should be single payer and that we're supportive of unions, but then it doesn't make a difference who the fifth Supreme Court justice is? Who potentially the sixth and seventh Supreme Court justice? I mean, that's like saying, I don't even know if I can come up with an analogy. It's like saying, "Hey, we both want to go we both want to go to Toronto." Doesn't make a difference if we walk or take a plane.
Okay, so I'm not too big on analogies because I feel like they always fail to encapsulate the situation properly. So I'd have to think about it more. But that analogy seems to be apt enough. But the thing is that the majority report mistakenly thinking that David was a conservative is certainly not the same thing as what Jimmy Dore does, okay? When he just is wrong about everything, when he says that, the Democrats can block Supreme Court justices, when obviously it's not politically tenable, A. B, they literally didn't have the votes to do that, guys, because they brought it down to just needing 50 votes, and so they had enough. Literally, the Democrats could do nothing. There was nothing they could do. Because they used the nuclear option, brought it down to 50. They had the 50 votes. Democrats literally could not do anything. So not only was it not a tenable thing to think like, they could just prevent 3 seats from being filled and totally like everyone's just going to be chill and it's going to be okay. Obviously that's not tenable. But B, numerically speaking and just logistically speaking, it was impossible to do. Literally, numbers wise. Okay, so there's no comparing that and him being wrong about Hillary supposedly having Parkinson's and given a fake doctoral diagnosis, which he's unqualified to do so, and his stuff about Seth Rich and all the other stuff. There's a huge difference between that and them mistakenly saying he's a conservative. And again, I think David would disagree with a lot of the stuff that he said in this point. I really hope he does, and I think he does, to be honest. But certainly, there's definitely no comparison whatsoever to that. And I also think that, that is a really big difference, right? If you're trying to take over the Democratic Party and your goal is to try to make a third party, it's a really big difference there. I mean, and I think that analogy does work. I'd have to think about that specific analogy more. But on the face of it, that does seem to be a pretty apt analogy. It is a pretty darn big difference.
I totally understand
that's
what
not
you're saying.
even
At the
enough
same
of
time,
analogy.
I just feel
That's like
these
saying
are
it
these
doesn't
are
make
discussions that could be had and could be hashed out.
No, they can't, because you know why? He doesn't want to have them.
True.
Did you not hear that part of the story where he was the one who didn't want to have any more conversations? He was the one who just wanted to espouse his bullshit.
I don't even necessarily mean conversations on the air. I just mean like.
Oh, I'm having the conversation. I'm saying he is irresponsible, does not check his facts, does not know the fundamental basics of how our government works, but espouses bullcrap. That's my comment.
Yeah, so he's 100% right on that. And again, I think that David probably wouldn't agree with that statement today because, folks, we literally saw an interview Jimmy Dore did with Caleb Kane, the guy Faraday Speaks. They actually, censored out the name Sam's show. It wasn't even like the Majority Report, Sam Seder show. It was just Sam's show. Who knows? It could be Sam, whatever, Sam Donald, whatever. Just fill in whatever name you want. But no, they literally censored it out. So not only can they not have convos on air because Jimmy Dore has his tail behind his, between his legs and he's running, but also Jimmy Dore refuses to even utter the name Sam Seder. So how the hell are you even going to have like off-air debates where it's like, let's say that he puts out a piece that expresses his thought process? Because he's literally not even allowing himself to address Jimmy Dore, to address Sam Seder. So, again, there's another thing where I'm like, okay, you know what? David probably wouldn't agree with this if we were to ask him, like, what is his take on this today? There's just no way. And I think Sam is 100% right there where he's like, yeah, like, well, I would love to have the convo, but you know who doesn't? Jimmy Dore, because he literally won't have a convo with me. So, I mean, that seems to be kind of a sort of undebatable issue right there.
Now he can do his video.
But he won't, of course, because he refuses to even utter the name Sam Seder because he's scared.
All right, I don't really agree with you. I understand some of his videos may come off that way, but content as a whole. No, when you take his content as a whole,
your name is Rational
he's not
National.
lying to
Is it
people all the
rational?
time.
No, you're right. He's not lying to people all the time. But here's the thing: how do you know when he is and when he isn't?
This is the thing. I think most of his audience does know. So
do you think most of his audience
even
sat
in my
there?
own comments where people
really
enjoy both your shows?
Do you think most of his audience sit there and go like, maybe it doesn't matter that Peter Thiel would be Supreme Court Justice?
Yeah, I think most people are
well, then most people
rational enough to be able to figure that out.
Okay, then most people are rational enough to know Sam's just got a bug up his ass, and that's it. I mean, I don't understand like why. If you think the audience can figure it all out and it's completely irrelevant, why are you even weighing in?
No, I mean on some topics, like. So, I mean...
Wait, you think the part about... Wait, I'm sorry.
Don't agree
Hold on, let me ask you. You think the part about Sam doesn't think that Sam thinks this guy is full of shit because of X, Y, and Z is not decipherable for the audience, but the idea that, like, the Supreme Court's not important, like filibuster, they can filibuster when they're in the majority. I mean... You think that you think the audience needs more direction about the personal, the personal or the argument between Jimmy and I versus like the not so intricate, but apparently are intricacies of policy? I mean, come on.
No, but
he disempowers people. He disempowers people. He sends them on.
You act like Jimmy is the only guy that lies. Or that has said a mistruth.
How much time do you think I got
online?
How much time do you think I got?
Yeah, see, I also think that's just a bad argument as well. And I don't think that that's something that David would defend today. I just really have a hard time believing that he would, defend himself from that comment there. The one thing I'll say, and it's not, because I changed my mind personally on my view of this almost 2 years later. It's amazing how much can change from 2 years later. But as you guys probably know, I had defended Jimmy Dore in the beginning of this whole beef, but I came to my senses just kind of like any logical person would, very obviously. But that's just a terrible thing. And the thing is it wasn't as well established at that point for people just how dumb Jimmy Dore was. It wasn't as well established yet. Like, this was kind of the beginning-ish times. This was around there. But it didn't really come super clear as to how dumb Jimmy Dore was until, I would say, 6 to 8 months ago. Is when it was like, okay, Jimmy Dore really is just a stupid person. Because we went back and looked at what he said in that debate. We looked at it and we're like, hold on. None of this stuff ended up actually coming true, and you were actually wrong on pretty much everything you said. You said that Paul Ryan wouldn't usher in Trump's agenda. He did. You said that the Democrats would be able to block Supreme Court justices. Impossible to do. And all of this different stuff. And it's like, wow, you were wrong on just so many things. And you're just so dumb. You're so stupid. And so I don't think he'd defend that. That's just kind of a really bad defense. And I think that also part of David's comment there also makes it seem like, that it's a minor sort of misinformation / dumbness on the part of Jimmy Dore. But I think that it's more clear now than it was back then that, obviously it's much worse. So you look back at his conspiracy videos of, Hillary and her Parkinson's and all Seth Rich stuff and the fluoride in the water is the government putting chemicals to and the government has some sort of ulterior motive in doing that, and that's why they put it in there or whatever. It's just weird stuff. So I think I'm curious to hear what David, what his thoughts are on his comments. I'm hoping he lets us know. I really am super curious. But my view on this convo is completely flipped. Now, what I will say about this is it's still to this day, the one thing that hasn't changed is that Sam did interrupt David far too much for my liking, and David barely got to speak. He barely got anything out. He had to fight to even barely get anything out. Sam went on these really long, slow rants where he'll kind of go loud for a second, then take a long pause as he usually does. And then David's like, oh, okay, well, he's done so I can speak in. So he starts speaking. But no, Sam's not done. After taking that super long pause, he resumes. So it's like, he did a bad job of that, and I don't think he was respectful in that conversation to let David speak, to let him say stuff. And so I still maintain that position today because he did keep cutting him off. But nonetheless, Sam was 100% right on this, and in some ways ahead of his time, honestly, is the way I would put it, ahead of his time. Because I was on the other side of this. I wasn't on Sam's side. I was on Jimmy's side. But like I said, I eventually kind of came to my senses and realized what was going on, and that Jimmy Dore is a big dumbo. But I thought this would be a very interesting video idea, and I'm very, very curious as to what you guys think. What did you think about this when it first came out? What do you think about it now, almost 2 years later? And I'm very curious to hear your thoughts down below. Let me know.